You cannot be innovative if you don't know the basics. And this is what people don't like. Many of my students hate it. They immediately want to go to the razzle-dazzle of math. They cannot even do arithmetic sometimes. But after you master basic skills, we emphasize reasoning, logic, validity, allowing them to be confident critical thinkers.
So Dr. Quina is an esteemed professor, scientist, writer in mathematics, in science, and she has a doctorate in clinical psychology. No? I was very surprised to learn that. So Dr. Quina, please take us through how we can use mathematics to be able to develop emancipated learners. Thank you, Dr. Quina.
Thank you, Doc Nene. Hello, Father Jet. I was smiling when I saw your last slide that educated people, it does happen, that educated people can be good people. That's a very good quote, Father Jet. It made my day. I was laughing here. So I think I'm not as spiritual as Father Jet. I'm quite blunt. So the topic given to me is critical thinking. But I also wanted to add problem solving because critical thinking by itself is really used to harness problem solving. So let us start with a problem. Okay? You land a gig for 3 weeks and you're given 2 options for payment. Option A, you're paid 100 pesos for the first day, 200 for the second, 300 for the third, and on up to 21 days. Each day, you're paid 100 more than the previous day. Option B, you're paid 1 peso for the first day, 2 pesos for the second, 4 pesos for the third, also up to 21 days. Each day, you're paid double the amount of the prior day. Which do you choose? Because I only have 20 minutes, I won't ask you to answer this. If we had longer ones, Dr. Nene knows this, I would have asked you to solve for this one and give me the answer. So I often give this to my students. And when the pandemic started, I decided that there has to be some mathematics behind it. But this was in April 2020, and nobody really knew much about the pandemic yet. And people are quite scared. So of course, I use money because that's what most people want to know about. Pre-pandemic, almost all my students will immediately say they prefer letter A. Okay? But after I ask them to get their hands dirty, which means they literally have to write down each amount and add them for 21 days, then they get a shock because this is what's going to happen. Week one, it is obvious that A trumps B. 100, 200, 300, etc. You have 2,800. Look at this. You only have 127, 124, etc. By week two though, B is more than A. Okay, so this 7,000 to 16,000. Week 3, which is horrendous. When I did this when I was a kid, I was so shocked. 12,000 versus 2 million. And in mathematics, we call the first one, it's an arithmetic series, it's linear growth. The second one is called exponential growth, and virus spread is exponential. It is not linear. So you can start with 1 person, and you can get 2 million in week 3. So that was my explanation because people didn't really know what it meant. People were saying, why do you have to quarantine? So that's one example of critical thinking, reasoning, and mathematics. And I'll just go straight to what most researchers define it to. How do we develop critical thinking then? Okay. I wanted to get researchers who are Asian. I share the bias of Father Ben Nebres. Father Jet knows him very well, when he says that we should actually learn from our Asian neighbors more than the West. So most of my literature would be from how the Asians do critical thinking and problem solving. Most important, of course, is you have to master basic skills. You can't really do critical thinking. That's what shocks me sometimes, because I've attended so many fora and conferences on critical thinking. They have lots and lots and lots of nice PowerPoint, bullet point, terms. And basically, the kids can't do anything because they don't know basic skills. That's the thing this is the elephant in the room that people don't talk about. You cannot be innovative if you don't know the basics. And this is what people don't like. Many of my students hate it. They immediately want to go to the razzle-dazzle of math. They cannot even do arithmetic sometimes. But after you master basic skills, we emphasize reasoning, logic, validity. They can develop these by identifying possible solutions, evaluating, justifying, allowing them to be confident critical thinkers. Metacognition in psychology is also now becoming a fad. It's a good fad. It's thinking about thinking, number sense. An example of number sense would be this. I would get very, very disappointed, I tell my students, if they don't even think about whether their answers make sense. For instance, just in basic probability, for example, you ask them, if you have a deck of cards, what is the possibility that when you pick one card randomly from 52 cards in a deck, it will be a heart? So usually the answer will be 1/4. There's no problem. Sometimes they would say 1/5, 1/6, 2/3, that's fine. But what really irks me, actually, and I do tell them that, is that sometimes I would get an answer of -6.4. I said, what the heck is that? Especially if we define probability to be anywhere from 0 means it will never happen, or 1 means it is certain to happen. So the answer has to be a positive number, except 0 is neither positive nor negative. So 0 to 1. So 1/3, 1/2, 2/3, 3/4, 0.6 is fine. But -6.2 probability doesn't even make any sense. So there's no critical thinking or metacognition involved. I have talked to certain professors in the Ateneo. Father Jet actually has a physics degree. One of them, Dr. Joel Makiling, tells me horror stories about answers he gets when he poses very basic for him mechanics questions to students. So if the answer is something like 100 kilometers, he tells me he would get an answer of 2 million. And he would just laugh and say, how can it be 2 million? Can't you even think about the validity of what you're saying? So that's also critical thinking, metacognition. And that afflicts also, by the way, adults. Okay? That also afflicts adults, but no time to talk about that. So critical thinking, we guide students to identify scenarios, evaluate, select problem-solving strategies. This alone is a course Father Nebres and I teach. Identify possible conclusions and see if they're logical, describe how the solution is summarized, and indicate how they can be applied to more advanced problems, and for me, also to real life. Focused thinking, planning, strategizing are key aspects of organizational success, decision-making, and life choices. And going back to basic skills, I would like to, this is a poster done by Ning Doble and Dr. Nene Guevara, because recently my son and I did a Singapore math workshop with, I think, Ning, 100,000 teachers across the country. It reached 100,000. And there was no way out. Rather than giving a lecture, we spent 3 Saturday mornings, went overtime for all of them. The only way to do problem solving is to get your hands dirty and really solve the problem, rather than theorize about it. Okay? Many of the people who theorize are actually so scared of getting their hands dirty with the problem. So I was quite impressed with, Father Ben was also there for part of the time. I was very impressed with the tenacity of many of the teachers. I remember Nene Guevara, one teacher was up on a tree. Remember that, Ning Ning? She was up on a tree and you guys called her to answer. And she was up on a tree because she wanted to get the Wi-Fi. And you guys called her to answer. And we waited patiently until she came down from the tree to do the solution. So that really inspired me so much. I actually told that to my students, and I told them, none of you are on a tree. So please, none of you, do not tell us you don't have, you don't have Wi-Fi, because we know you do. So if there's a will, there's a way, and it's problem solving. I said this young teacher wanted to learn. She didn't have good Wi-Fi, so she climbed a tree. That's problem solving, So I actually use that. So Synergia is actually on the forefront already of doing math. This is just the basics first. So this is basic math plus problem solving. So this is a model method. This is what we did. This forum is hosted by Singapore. So you very well know what Singapore math is. We took this from your curriculum. I had a chat with some of your MOE before. And Marshall Cavendish, the one that publishes the biggest textbooks of Singapore math. We're using it in the Philippines in many schools. So it's called the model approach, and it's learning by doing. I'll do one more problem, okay, because this is an obvious answer. And be honest with what your immediate gut answer is. A big burger and a giant fries together cost 100 pesos. The burger costs 90 more than the fries. What are the costs of the burger and the cost of the fries? If we are honest with ourselves, most of the time, the gut answer is the burger costs 90 and the fries cost 10. That's almost always the gut answer. And of course, it's not. Okay. This can easily be done with algebra. And believe it or not, I've given this to several groups ranging from Ateneo grade 2. They have a Magis class, grade 2, grade 3 Magis class, where it's the math club. Before the pandemic, I used to, give talks to them. All the way up to college, all the way up to executives. The ones that cannot answer this are the adult executives, the CEOs. The ones who do the best here are middle school students. Not the primary, but the middle school, the grades 5, 6, 7 do so much better. The college students are very scared because they don't want to make a mistake, which is a bit sad. But somehow when they grow up, they're so scared of making mistakes. When they're younger, they're more open. The executives are not scared of making mistakes, but they made the mistakes. So the answer is not 90 and 10. Okay. The real answer is 95 and 5. Okay. And easily. If you think about the problem for a while, it's easy. And life is not about living without problems. I am on the forefront of mental health, which is sapping a lot of my energy. I prefer to actually stay with mathematics. And my students tell me life is difficult. I told them, well, that's life. And many of them try to escape social media and all that stuff. Gaming, it's really escapist. A little bit of social media, a little bit of gaming is not bad to de-stress, but getting addicted to it is not solving problems. And George Polya is the father of mathematics problem solving. You can only learn it by imitation and practice. These are his 4 steps. Very, very easy. Understand, make a plan, do the plan, look back, and keep on cycling. And these are all the problem solving strategies that we use. Okay. When Father Ben and I teach the class, we go through examples of all of this in step 2. We give them problems, sometimes problems which we don't even know the answer to. We call it non-routine problem solving. I'm not sure if I still have time, but just to tell students that, math can actually be hip, so I might as well. This is a clip from Die Hard, Bruce Willis.
When it comes to your child's health, it's not enough to just double check. As moms.
Okay, so.
I thought you see the message. It has a proximity circuit, so please don't run.
Sorry, Dr. Lee, we can't see the video.
Oh, okay.
On the
Sorry.
fountain, there should be 2
I
jars.
will.
You see them?
I can see
5
it,
gallon
but.
and a 3 gallon. Fill one of the jugs with exactly 4
Okay, we can see the
gallons of
video now.
scale, and the timer will stop. You must be precise. 1 ounce or more or less will result in detonation. If you're still alive in 5 minutes, we'll speak. Wait a sec.
I don't get it. You get it?
No.
Get the jugs.
Okay, so I'll just go on. This is the solution.
Obviously, we can't fill the 3-gallon jug with 4 gallons of water, right? Obviously. All right, I know. There we go. We fill the 3-gallon jug exactly to the top, right? Okay, now we pour that 3 gallons into the 5-gallon jug, giving us exactly 3 gallons in the 5-gallon jug, right?
Right. Then
Okay.
what?
Now, take the 3-gallon jug, add exactly 2 gallons in here, right?
Right.
Leaving exactly 1 gallon of empty space, right?
Yeah.
A full 5 gallons here, right? You pour 1 gallon out of 5 gallons into there, we have exactly 4 gallons in there.
Yes.
Pour it in there. Come on. Come on. Don't fill it. Good. Exactly 4 gallons.
You did it, McLean.
Put it on his face. Get it down.
Okay, so that one is just an example. Well, it's of course, a Hollywood version of a very old mathematics problem. If you have this one, a 3-liter, let's just call it liter, not gallon, a 3-liter container and a 5-liter container, how do you get 4 liters from 3 and 5? So that one is a very simplistic way of doing it. The students love it. They do get their hands dirty. This is one example. It's one way of doing it. You fill it first, minus, add, subtract, etc. Another one would be like this. What we do, because we want to stretch their thoughts, would be after getting the answer, which practically everybody gets, we would ask them to stretch it by saying, okay, what is the general pattern do you see? Suppose you have 10 liters and 8 liters. How do you get 9? And then we would ask the computer science people to do a program. We would ask the physics people to do something. We would ask the math people to use calculus, etc. So one small problem would lead us into lots and lots and lots of bigger problems, which despite themselves, the students actually find interesting. Okay. What do we need for critical thinking? Grit. People who are very impatient, who want to do instant gratification, who, if they don't know something, immediately Google the answer, cannot be critical thinkers. It's definition malina. Sorry, it means it's mali. It means it can't be done. It's wrong. Angela Duckworth defines grit as very long-term goals, not just for the week, but for years. Life is a marathon and not a sprint. And in my positive psych class, we talk about Carol Dweck's fixed and growth mindset, wherein I really embrace challenges versus avoiding, persevere versus giving up. And what I would really, really like to enjoin, if there's a way, Konrad Adenauer, Synergia, I myself and several of the science teachers, the SOSE, Ateneo, School of Science and Engineering, we finished a resilience study because in the pandemic, we are not too happy with the resilience of several students, and yet we are very happy with the grit of some. So we wanted to see what makes, because for science, you really need grit. There's no way you can do fast science. Okay? We were not very happy when several students run from error, when they ignore negative feedback. You give them feedback and they get mad, they cry, and they get mad at you. They avoid new experiences, and then the students tell it this way. They say, they don't really trust each other because rather than friends, they have frenemies. So they're really threatened if somebody else is successful. So I've been trying to do that. We just did a study on that, on what makes our SOSE, our science students, gritty. The Asian value would be faith is there, to my surprise, but happiness. Faith is there. Many of the gritty students say they really find comfort and strength in faith, which is not a Western finding. We were very shocked by that. Faith, and of course, being Filipinos, family is a huge source of support. That one also did not come out in Western literature. And friends who hold them accountable. So this is all part and parcel of critical thinking and problem solving, especially the second one. Okay. And cheating, of course, is rampant, not just in our country, but worldwide. I've talked to Western educators, online learning, it's ayan. So critical thinking, Googling is not learning. They Google the meaning of their lives, okay, which is so sad. And series of problems, they either defeat you or develop you depending on how you respond to it. And that's it. Thank you so much and stay well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Quina. Dr. Quina is a perfect example of an educated person who is good, who is connected with herself, connected with the poor, and connected with the country. Thank you very much, Dr. Quina.